news. Thank you. Trump just made huge sudden change to new Air Force One that will infuriate every liberal in US. For months, rumors have gone around about what President Donald Trump's new Air Force One would look like. His election win came at a time to renew the contract with Boeing, who builds the important plane. With that negotiation, he gets to decide what changes will be made to customizable aircraft, and there's one he just surprised everyone with that never been done before and will surely infuriate every liberal in America. After much speculation, we're finally finding out what this new airplane is going to look like, with Trump calling the shots. Always one to lead and never one to follow, Trump just pulled out what's probably one of the biggest surprises since becoming president. That's about as unique of a decision, and he is a commander-in-chief, and it couldn't be better played. From the start of the Air Force One contract, Trump went his own way, saying that what Boeing was wanting to charge was out of control at a whopping $4 billion. He famously said, "Cancel order." Because of this, which led the contract for the brand new 747 into negotiations. This resulted in a lower cost, but still not where Trump wanted it out of concern for saving the country needed money. What's impressive is that he's worked hard on this deal and won't even be able to benefit from it, since the aircraft won't be completed until after he's out of office. However, he's leaving his mark anyway with what he's just decided to do. In his ongoing effort to reduce the cost, he came across an ironic opportunity. The Hill reports, the Air Force will reportedly attempt to lower costs on a pair of new presidential planes by buying two Boeing 747 jetliners abandoned by a bankrupt Russian airline. Service officials are working through the final stages of coordination to purchase two commercial 747-8 aircraft, Air Force spokeswoman Ann Stefanik told Defense One. The deal could be announced as soon as this week, though the Air Force is not expected to release the contract value, according to the report. Officials said the Air Force is getting a good deal on the planes, which are, on average, listed at $386.8 million each. The two planes, which are slated to be altered to become Air Force One presidential aircraft, were originally ordered in 2013 by Russia's second biggest airline Transaero, which went bankrupt in 2015. Boeing flight tested and put the two jets in storage while it searched for a buyer, allowing the Air Force to negotiate a good deal for the planes, sources told Defense One. Considering the left's obsession with allegations of Trump colluding with Russia, this will surely send their witch hunt into overdrive. It's only a matter of time before liberals try to claim that this arrangement was somehow discussed in private meetings between Trump and Russia's leader, Vladimir Putin. This is because they refuse to see it for what it truly is, the first president in 8 years who has been frugal with the budget. In comparison to his predecessor, Trump's presidency is costing the American people far less. Barack Obama's was expensive, to say the least. Our national debt is topped an astonishing $20 trillion by the time he left office, and he's happy to spend taxpayer money on anything, including himself. Obama's annual Christmas vacation to Hawaii with his family in 2015 cost taxpayers nearly $5 million, according to Law News. Trump doesn't even take a presidential salary while he's in the Oval Office, donating the quarterly checks to valuable causes instead. The Air Force had plans to build two new Air Force Ones to replace their aging counterparts when President Trump slammed out-of-control replacement costs on Twitter in December, the Hill's report continued. The steep price tag stems from a need to meet security requirements, including secure communications, anti-missile defenses, and the ability to withstand an electromagnetic pulse in the event of a nuclear explosion. After Obama racked up $20 trillion in debt, you'd think the average person wouldn't care about racking up the debt any additional $4 billion. It's about time we have a president who realizes that it does make a difference. The only thing that could make it better is the fact that he's saving money by potentially using Russian planes to do so, which is an awesome circumstantial jab at Democrats' favorite scandal they can't seem to let go of. Trump just fired Obama's leftover staffer after finding out what he's been doing for months. John Kelly made his way to the White House and dropped the Hummer on his first day. People hit by this hammer no longer have jobs. That ranges from Anthony Scaramucci, fired, to Obama's leftover Muslim staffer, George Salim, who resigned right before Kelly arrived. Kelly is a retired Marine general, served 3 tours in Iraq, was recently serving as the Secretary of Homeland Security. Kelly's new responsibility is the White House Chief of Staff. Just as Kelly was making his way in, George Salim was making his way out. Salim was in charge of former President Obama's program that attempted to redirect Islamic immigrants away from turning to jihad lifestyles that often lead to violence and mass destruction. That program was listed as countering violent extremism and identified by initials CVE. Started off as a new way to prevent terrorism, but eventually became a huge failure. The concept was to attempt redirection of Muslims to better lifestyles, but to encourage Muslims to report when they notice someone is turning toward evil. The problem with the program was that government kept spending money on it, but it failed to yield results. There was little return on the investment because the Muslim people involved were not reporting the people who turned to jihad. This was evident as attacks continued and no one had any intelligence on the attackers. Had the program been a success, then perhaps the attacks wouldn't have happened. Those attacks include the brutal shooting at Pulse nightclub in Florida and pressure cooker bombings in New Jersey. Any amount of helping information could have prevented either of those attacks, but the Muslim people who were involved simply didn't tell authorities about anything. Of course, it could be that no one knew, but there's usually signs such as weird behaviors and other indicators that allow people to notice that something is off or something isn't right with someone. Salim probably knew the CVE program wasn't serving its purpose and figured he was on his way out. Perhaps he left with dignity as he resigned. Would he have been fired? It's hard to say. Kelly's hard-nosed military experience could have sniffed something strange and fired Salim and cut off all the Muslim contacts, if any, that were left. Kelly may have wanted a clean slate with his outlook on combating terrorism. If any counter-terrorism program had to go, then CVE may have been the first to go. George Salim headed the now-defunct CVE program, which tried to offer federal support and legal autonomy to Islamic political groups if they redirected Islamic immigrants and youths away from Islamic militancy and jihad. His resignation spotlighted Kelly's decision to replace Obama's failed policy with more direct government involvement in Islamic communities. Kelly may use his new White House job to make his anti-jihad strategy a government-wide policy. During his 6 months at the agency, Kelly apparently discarded Obama's CVE plan and has shifted DHS attention and funds away from Islamic groups which wanted to prevent FBI anti-jihad investigations in their Islamic communities. Instead, the funds and attention will go to police groups that are directly assimilating Islamic communities into normal American civic society, without relying on the Islamic political groups, such as the Muslim Public Affairs Council. Kelly's approach does not believe in delivering money to Muslim groups or people, if that's what CVE did, who are not properly cooperating or doing their part. There wasn't a return on investment, or so it seems. Kelly abandoned CVE when stepped into his role at DHS. He thought it was better to provide police forces with the funding and have them work directly with Islamic communities and help with assimilation. It seems like the shift went from a near-secretive relationship with CVE to a more public and involved relationship with communities and police forces. If police and people, of any culture, work together to build community relations, then people typically respect each other more. Communities who work together, thrive together. Muslim people sometimes struggle to thrive in America because they're not used to the different lifestyle and way of life that Americans endure. A perfect example is that women in America are not forced to dress a certain way or do things one way or the other. American women have all the freedom in the country to do whatever they want and dress however they like. Women in the Islamic religion are forced to dress a particular way, which is extremely oppressive to them. Meanwhile, Muslim men can do as they wish and dress as they like. One must ask, how is that fair? Why does a Muslim woman at the beach, in 95-degree heat, have to wear a black garment that covers her from head to toe, while the Muslim man is wearing a comfortable pair of swim shorts and cool sunglasses? It doesn't make sense, and it's definitely oppressive to Muslim women. Kelly looks to be a fine addition to Trump's administration. His version of combating terrorism by building communities might have a longer lasting effect and certainly be more appealing to all involved. There's no reason people can't work together and make America great again. McCain's deathbed secret just came out about who he killed after skeleton suddenly resurfaces. Senator John McCain is a traitor and an enemy of the American people. Over the past few weeks, disturbing information has emerged about his direct ties to Muslim terrorists and the London bomber, and how he's basically owned by George Soros and the Saudi terrorists. Then last week, McCain successfully fulfilled his role as America's most infamous traitor, officially killing the Obamacare repeal. But nauseatingly, as McCain continues to garner the sympathy for his recent brain cancer diagnosis, while many idiotic Americans hail him a hero for his military service in Vietnam, a disgusting skeleton has just come crawling out of McCain's closet, proving what a shame this man truly is to our country. John McCain graduated from the U.S. Naval Academy in 1958, where he became commissioned as second lieutenant naval aviator. His Navy career was disastrous from beginning, where he crashed 2 Navy jets and was involved with other nearly fatal mishaps shortly after graduation. But because his father and grandfather were both 4-star admirals, McCain got preferential treatment, and was able to continue to serve, despite being a horrible pilot. But tragically, McCain's cocky actions as a young pilot while aboard the USS Forrestal aircraft carrier on July 31, 1967 would go on to kill 134 sailors, in a horrifying incident where his involvement was scrubbed from the Navy's official records. John McCain, left, is pictured with his father, Vice Admiral John McCain. McCain Field at Naz Meridian is dedicated to Sen. McCain's grandfather, Admiral John S. McCain. According to eyewitnesses that day, whose accounts were predictably buried by the Navy due to John McCain's familial ties to 2 4-star generals, McCain decided to be a show-off, by doing a wet start of his jet. This reckless maneuver makes fuel build up in the engine before the plane is started. The result is a flame erupting from the tail of the plane, that's accompanied by a startling amount of noise. After McCain started his engine in this manner, the electrical surge of this maneuver subsequently caused the accidental launching of a powerful Zuni rocket across the carrier's deck, that hit 2 other parked planes that were packing 1,000-pound highly explosive bombs. The fire then caused a chain reaction of bombs to detonate, causing explosions that went several decks below. The ensuing explosions nearly sank the 82,000-ton U.S. aircraft carrier, with the fire fatally consuming 134 sailors aboard the Forrestal. The burning platform reported, "This stunt and aftermath caused the death of 134 sailors and seriously injure, blow off arms, legs, cause blindness and burns to another 161 sailors, and took the ship off the battle line for extensive repairs." Any other Navy pilot causing this type of death and destruction, the Navy would have raped him and he would probably still be in the brig. Why not McCain? Well, first, with many powerful connections, this little infraction was covered up by the Navy, our most politically involved, connected service, by the way. As crew members rushed to put out the flames, McCain fled the scene like a coward, going below deck to the pilot's lounge to watch the men fight the fire on a closed-circuit TV as his brothers in arms were consumed by the fire. Truthdig.com reported, whatever the circumstances of the fire's origins, McCain did not stay on deck to help fight the blaze as the men around him did. With the firefighting crew virtually wiped out, men untrained in fighting fires had to pick up the fire hoses, rescue the wounded, or frantically throw bombs and even planes over the ship's side to prevent further tragedy. McCain left them behind and went down to the hangar bay level, where he briefly helped crew members heave some bombs overboard. After that, he went to the pilot's ready room and watched the fire on a television monitor hooked to a camera trained on the deck. It should be noted that the U.S. Navy never pinned blame on anyone for the fire, but given that McCain's dad and grandfather were both 4-star admirals, and the cover-up shouldn't come as much of a surprise. McCain has been adamant in the past about keeping his military records sealed, information that would be able to shed light on his personal involvement. The Washington Post reported, controversy has surrounded a series of crashes involving planes piloted by John McCain while serving in the U.S. Navy. In his autobiography, the Republican presidential candidate maintained that a couple of the accidents were caused by engine failure. But an official investigation by the Naval Aviation Safety Center makes clear that the first accident, in March 1960, was caused exclusively by pilot error. During the course of his flying career with the U.S. Navy, John McCain was involved in at least 5 major mishaps or crashes involving his plane. The most dramatic incidents occurred in 1967. He barely escaped with his life after a missile exploded aboard an aircraft carrier, the USS Forrestal, in July of that year, killing 134 of his fellow crew members. In October, McCain was shot down over Vietnam by a surface-to-air missile. Mystery has surrounded the precise circumstances of the 3 earlier incidents, and particularly an accident on March 12, 1960, while McCain was still in flight school at Corpus Christi in Texas. The McCain campaign has either ignored or failed to respond to requests by the Washington Post and other news organizations for the release of the candidate's full military records, which could shed light on the accident and the pilot's personal involvement. The official Navy report into the Corpus Christi accident on March 12, 1960, concludes that the AD-6 Skyraider trainer crashed because McCain failed to maintain an airspeed above the stall speed. It attributed the accident to the preoccupation of the pilot coupled with a power setting too low to maintain level flight. The single-engine prop plane sank to the bottom of Corpus Christi Bay. McCain was rescued by a helicopter after swimming to the surface. Before this idiot dies and the asinine tributes about his military career ensue, let's all remember what John McCain's legacy truly is. Thanks to his connections to powerful military commanders, not only was his direct involvement in the deaths of 133 of our servicemen buried, but then he was able to go on to become a powerful United States Senator. And we all know McCain's antics at the White House, that are treasonous, at best.